They talk a lot about depression, mental health right now. You go through it as well, just like anybody else.
Oh yeah.
What's some
Oh
practical
yeah.
ways that you use that can help raise your vibration?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. That's a good question. Well, I'm a reader, right? I'm a reader. I got people from Les Brown to you name it that I can go back to and immediately get back on track, right? You have to surround yourself with good material, good people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get in touch with God, man. You got to get in touch with God, lady. You talk about getting up off the floor and depression. I just lost a son, right? I lost two sons.
Yeah.
I had six kids, man, and two boys and four girls. I still got the four girls. The two boys is gone, but I just lost my son earlier this year, man. Two, guess what? To suicide, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about it, what hit me so bad, Eric, is me and this guy talk about everything.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pattern Disruption Podcast. This is the show where we break through the noise and we dive into the stories of those who've shaken up the game. I'm your host, Eric Rhymes, and every week I bring you real, raw conversations with entrepreneurs, educators, entertainers, and even hairstylists. But Wesley Stamps is the owner of ABA Salon and Network with over 30 years in the beauty and service game. He's worked with billion-dollar brands and built his own lane and created a beautiful association network to uplift and empower. Let's get into the story behind the legacy. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Wesley Stamps.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you.
we had a rough takeoff, man. But guess what? Welcome to the show, man. That's what it's
Yes, sir.
that's what
Yes,
it's
sir.
about. I want
Thank you.
to get started with just asking you a few questions, man. I know we met through your daughter, um,
Yes.
Danita Ramsey, and
Yes, sir.
she is a personality herself, man. She's a huge personality. She's done a lot in the community, and
Yeah.
she always likes to bring people together, especially good, positive people. So I appreciate you coming to the
Yeah.
show today. So,
Thank you.
so I want to get into a quick intro. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, as you said, my name is Wesley Stamps. I am a licensed barber, right? Licensed barber. I am a salon and barbershop owner. And I've been in the hair industry now for, oh man, as I started to count, almost 40 years, so to speak, right? And I'm a, I am a husband, father, grandfather, and great grandfather, right? So, as you mentioned, my firstborn, Danita Ramsey, right? That was my firstborn. Me and her kind of grew up together. As in 17, I'm in high school, not knowing what I'm doing and all that good stuff. And here comes Miss Ramsey, Danita, and we share the same birthday day, December 4th.
December.
So needless to say, that's my firstborn, and I always tell her, and she laughs. She's Eric. She's me to the 10th power. You know what I mean? So as you said, when you said about her personality and that kind of thing, that's who she is. And she's also has Barbecue Central, and I always brag about her on my podcast. Best barbecue in Michigan. You know what I mean? So
Best barbecue in
yes,
Michigan. I can
yeah,
vouch for
best
that.
barbecue in Michigan.
I was just
Yeah, yeah.
and I wanted to make sure that I went by there and got me some of those beef ribs, man.
Good.
Home of the beef ribs.
Good. Good. So yeah, I am a salon owner, but even more than that, man, God is always talking to me, man. He's always in my spirit, and so this service industry game, man, um, is just crazy as to what we can do through the service industry, through our service industry businesses, particularly the hair industry, man. We got salons on every corner, and again, when it comes to people, relationship, gifts, and talents, man. When we really ask that question of customers that come into our salons, how can I help you? Right?
Yeah.
Um, if we really just kind of raise our consciousness and say it again, like Jesus would say, how can I help you? We know the obvious answer. They come in, looking one way and they go out one way, right? Another way. So that's the obvious answer, right?
Right.
But my point, Eric, is if all that I am doing is doing your hair, which is again, that's the number one thing. You come into my salon now, my barbershop, right? You know, you got to go out looking better than you came in. But if all that I am doing is your hair in today's way of doing business, as in marketing, we're losing money, right? As in customer needs, right?
Okay.
How can I help you? Well, part of the answer to that, and part of the answer to that, Eric, if I say, if you ask me, how can I help you? The obvious answer would be, well, you really cannot help me if you don't know me. And so that's where I get to with relationships. God could not have placed us in a better business, man,
Okay.
especially in today's time
Okay.
in the service industry.
Okay. Well, take us back to what first drew you into, because I'm a licensed barber myself, but
Okay.
I know what drew me in is just the entrepreneurial spirit. But what is it that
hmm
drew you into the service industry over 30 years ago?
Well, to be honest with you, man, I was in the tank plant, right? Chrysler, it was Chrysler at the time. Then it turned into General Dynamics, right? And so a partner of mine was going. He was going to beauty school, right? And so he said, Wes, man, you need to. We got to do something, man. We got to get out of here. This is a good thing, but we got to get out of here. So long story short, I was searching, right? And so I went to welding school. I went to bartending school. You know what I mean? And I happened to go to barber school. My partner went to beauty school, but barber school fitted my time wise, right? As in part time and this and that and that. So I'm just really searching, man. But I go into barber school, one way, and then I go into the best school. Where I say the best school in America because they're still there, Michigan College of Michigan Barber School on Joy Road and Grand River, and they their structure was like, hey Wes, if you in here now, you ain't gonna just come in here. We about turning into barbers, right? And so that's what started my whole change in terms of from a professional standpoint, being turned on to, hey man, this could work, So that I kind of stumbled into it, but once I got into it, it kind of found me,
So,
you know.
so you, so you stayed? Did you stay in the plant and just do both, or did you literally take that leap of faith and
I did both. I did both for as long as I could do both.
right?
And then it came down to I did well. Long story short, I did about 13 years in General Dynamics, which Chrysler turned into General Dynamics. So I did about 13, 14 years basically, at least 11, 12 on the book, right? And so I stayed as long as I could stay in, and they started to lay me off and lay me off. And I was going to, well, I had went to barber school, and toward the end of barber school, I did midnights, and so I get off the plant, go home, sleep an hour, and go to school, right? So anyway, long story short, when they started laying off, they would lay me off, call me back, lay me off. Last time they laid me off, I said, I'm gone, man. I'm good. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. And so that was my leap of faith. Yep.
Okay,
So
and that's
that's
funny
kind of how
because I had 13 years at Chrysler exactly as well.
did you.
Now, but the difference is I got my barber license fresh out of high school. My grandmother asked me, "Do you want to go to college or what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to cut hair." I was
Okay.
already cutting hair. But
Okay.
while I was in my barbershop after 5 years, my union steward came in. I was cutting his
hmm
hair, and he said, "Man, I got an
hmm
opportunity for you. You can always come back and do this. I got an opportunity
hmm
for you."
hmm
So he gave me a referral.
hmm
So I went home and asked my
Uh-huh.
grandmother. I said, "Grandma, I had somebody come in and ask me to go to the plant." She said, "Well, you can
Uh-huh.
do that and then come back, or you could do it at the same time." So long story
Uh-huh.
longer, I went ahead and did it, and kind of
Uh-huh.
wish I would have stayed at my barbershop though, because you know how
Yeah.
you get once you open a salon, you tend to, they say an absentee landlord never wins. I
Yeah.
wasn't there, so things,
Right.
my
Right.
brand didn't stay the same once I left. But
Right.
so okay, so you 13 years you go into you go get your license to do hair.
hmm
Do
Yep.
you go into
Yes, sir.
somebody else's shop or do you get your own?
Nope. No doubt about it. I went into somebody else's shop,
Mhm.
and first shop was on the east side, right? Chuck's Barbershop, across from the city airport. That's when we had the city airport, Gratiot, right? So yes, I went from there, from that shop to another shop on the east side, and then I came to the west side as an Avenue of Fashion at Harris Shears, and that's basically where I really cut my teeth at, so to speak. You know, but to answer your question, Eric, I went and I had been in so many salons and barbershops, right, and seen what worked, what didn't work. I say, well, hey, if I can't do this now, then I won't never be able to do it. I'm it's time. I may as well let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah,
So I
yeah.
want to ask a quick question because I stopped cutting hair, and I stopped cutting hair because I didn't feel like I could scale the business.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
and also the barbershops, the world started getting rough, and I remember one time I was cutting hair, and I had someone who was in from out of town
Uh-huh.
who's bringing their son, and they were there for a funeral. And
Hmm.
earlier that day, I had somebody that was going to court,
Hmm.
and these two people were connected. The
Wow.
person who
Okay.
did it and the
Okay.
person who was mourning the
Wow.
person who it got done to
Wow.
was in my barbershop the same
Interesting.
day and didn't know.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
I it was just getting close calls. The barbershops were kind of, because you're dealing with all different types of people and you don't know what they're dealing with.
No doubt about it.
So long story short, I just kind of backed out of it. I said it's kind of, for me, I can't make enough money doing it, standing there. How did you go for 30 years doing it, make a living, raise a family?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
That's
did you
that's
how did you manage?
that's it. That's interesting, man. That's
Yeah.
interesting. While you doing it, you don't know, so to speak. But yes, um, I as I said in the beginning, I was working at the plant and cutting hair, right? So from that perspective, it was all right. You know what I mean? And so when I stopped in the plant and just went full force into the hair industry, man, it was just stick to it. It was just stick to it behind that chair. I had some challenges. There's no doubt about it. And the hard part about it, Eric, at the end of the week, I was the last one to get paid, right? And so I can remember as if it was like yesterday, coming home with the least amount of money, right? But just making it work, making it work, making it work, making it work, and then it got in my blood, right? It got in my blood as the entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I remember telling my wife one time we were going through something, we was going through, it's always financial, this and that, that, and this.
Yeah.
And she said, well, maybe we need, I said, look, what else? I got to the point and say, look, what else am I going to do? This is what I am. This is what we going to do.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, it clicked in her head. She said, okay, well, let's go.
Okay.
So yeah, that
Okay.
entrepreneur bug get in you, man. And it's nothing like working for yourself, you know, at the same time, you need to be in the black at the end of the week too, because you got bills and all that stuff. But
And you
but I hung in there. Yeah.
surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said, and you need that
Yeah.
surplus.
And you need that surplus. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
So,
So, yeah. So just hanging in there. Hey, and by the grace of God,
grace of God, most
the
definitely.
grace of God to get to a certain point, and you know what you know, and say, okay, this is it. This is what we're gonna do, and this is how we're gonna do it.
Okay. So let me,
And enjoying what I do too. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, you enjoy it too. So
Yeah.
what was the defining moment when you realized that it was more than just a career, it was a calling? Was it, well, you tell me, what was it?
Okay. It was meeting people. And okay, I tell you a good story. I tell you a good story. And I didn't, and I never totally finished the book, right?
Hmm.
It was a book way back in the day called The Wealthy Barber, right? The Wealthy Barber, right? And in this book, it lets you know that this barber was cutting hair over the years, right?
Hmm.
And through his conversation with his customers, man, um, at the end of so many years, he wound up being wealthy, as in rich, as in over $1 million in the bank, right?
Right.
And so they asked him in this book, right? They asked him, well, man, how did you do this? How did you do this? And basically what he did through talking to his customers, right?
Yep.
Through talking to his customers and his clientele, right? As his clientele was, right? So that's part of start to that when the light bulb went off in terms of who's sitting in your chair. And that's the thing right now that I talk to all my barbers, man, and it still resonates for some and some it does not, right? It's like, man, you want to have a salon barbershop, right? Where everyone comes into your establishment is comfortable, so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're losing money, man. So in other words, you want to be able to grandfather can come in, the son can come in, the little baby can come in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even your grandmother. So that's the kind of environment you want, and you want that environment because it's more money in your pocket. It's more money in your pocket, and you're able to serve more, and you just again, it's just it works. It works, right? And so that's part of it, right? That's part of it. And then I understand, like you said, I understand that in today's way of doing business in the service industry, man, who's sitting in your chair, right? The other part of that question is this here. I start to realize that, and to this day, and I say 99%, right? Maybe not 99%, maybe 90%. 90% of the things that have been done in my house and in my environment came from people sitting in my chair. So what does that mean, my brother, my sister? That means you got to pay attention who's sitting in your chair. You got plumbers, you got electricians, you got school teachers, you got police officers, you got on and on and on. You got, store owners, you know what I mean? And all of these people are sitting in your chair, man. And that's information, right?
That network.
And if you let that, go, go ahead, Eric.
No,
Yeah,
no,
if you let that information go out the door, then you losing money, man. You losing money, young man. You lose money, young lady. In today's way of doing business,
okay.
and so it's crazy, man. It's crazy how things how things have escalated to the point of, like I say, you look at Amazon, you look at any multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And you see smart card technology, you see information, man. You know what I mean? You don't go out the door without information. I need to know who you are, young man, who you are, young lady. And so God is talking to us in particular. He said, look, my child, you know what I mean? Especially in the African Americans, black people, I don't hesitate with about my people because we are the consumers. We are the ones, Eric, that if we change what we doing anyway monolithically in any big percentage, the world changes yesterday. You know what I mean? If we stop spending here and start spending there, the world changes.
Right.
If we start to put conscious in front of the consumer, the world changes. You know, if in the church we start to economics, the world changes. So everything that we do, man, God is talking to us in a particular way nowadays that I see, um, that He's talking to me, man. And it's called. I said it in my podcast. It's kind of called from my perspective, God's practicality movement. You know what I mean, man?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
He's talking to us like never
I,
before,
I
but
like
we just gotta listen.
I like that because I never thought about it like that.
Uh,
That network that you build from your customers, that's your network.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a lot of
yes,
what they say. We used to be 6 degrees separated from everything.
yeah. There you go.
Now with
Mhm.
the internet, we more like 1 or 2 degrees from everything that we need because you
You
can go
got it. You
directly.
got it.
You can go directly to. You can inbox Elon Musk or you can inbox
There you go.
Barack Obama. Like you know what I'm saying. You
Absolutely, absolutely.
so we
Yes,
want we
sir.
were literally 1 degree from everything that we want. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so yeah, that's a good way of looking at that
Hmm.
as a more of a network
Okay.
than just.
Okay. Yep.
So, what are
No doubt about it.
some of the early challenges that you faced stepping into this space, and how did you?
Oh Lord. Well, it's challenges is always overhead. You know what I mean? I mean, your financial challenges is always there, right? As far as that go. Um, the other thing is us as people understanding. what we could do, right? You're not just this man and you're not just this lady. You know, we could do some things, you know, um, putting forth knowledge of what families can do, man. When you start thinking about your family as a business, right? Everybody got a gift and talent, but we often our own worst enemies because we can't even talk to our brothers, sisters, cousins, you know. So you're a business right there, man. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, some of the biggest challenges is that mindset, right? Our mindset, right? And I'm generalizing, but it's our mindset. And I even I even wrote a poem we got to get rid of that stinking thinking.
St-
You know, even to this day, man, we have to get rid of that stinking thinking. And when you talk about God, oftentimes, eh, and I'm generalizing again, we think of God as all spirit, all hallelujah, all this, all that. Every time we go to church and all of that, right?
right.
But God is about economics, right? He's about he's about neighborhoods and how you gonna turn a neighborhood and community without money, man. You know what I mean? And by the way, the money still has in God we trust, right? And so we are His kids and have less of it than anybody. That does not make sense, you know. So from that perspective, again, we just have to understand, man, what we living in now, Eric, is the worst of time, but it is the best of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I even said this, and again, God always allows things to happen, but I say we are the chosen people, right? And from a biblical standpoint, some of my preachers will say that and they give you the fact in the Bible, but I'm not so sure. And the fact in the Bible is this, Eric. We are the ones as an African Americans, black people, and you got to include people of color for another reason, a majority and minority. And we'll get into that maybe. But we are the chosen people basically because we are the one have so much potential, but we living up under it, right? And so if we ever come, man, if and everybody know it but us, man, we seem to be the only ones that don't know it, understand it. If we ever raise up to our potential that God has given us, and He knows what we supposed to be doing, man, the world would change yesterday, and it's really that simple, right? So that's what I mean. That's but
I
that's
agree with you on that.
yeah, that's the elephant in the room, but it's also the exciting part, man. That hey, you got it in your hands, and here we go with consumers, right? I did a thing on my podcast, Eric, a little circle, perfect circle clock, and all that, and on the outside of that clock everybody that we do business with, everybody that we go into their business. I don't say we do business with. Everybody we go into their business, from the Arabs to the Koreans, especially the hair industry, Koreans, Chinese over here, and now even our Hispanic brothers is coming on that circle, right? We go into all their businesses, creating wealth for them, but on the inside of that circle is us, and we are consumers, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about that part, and God even tells us, He said, look, ain't nothing wrong with being a consumer, but y'all got to put conscious in front of your consumer. CONSCIENCE. You know what I mean? Everybody needs you. We get everybody wealthy, but y'all, we got to understand how to learn and need ourselves. So that's part of why I'm so excited about this time, man, because we do have a movement going on, man, a little bit,
Yeah.
especially in the metropolitan area of Detroit, and I know other states as well. We got a movement of consciousness but it's bottom line, Eric, stinking thinking. We got to get rid of stinking thinking, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got the money from the billionaires, millionaires, all the way to to the ground and in between. If we would ask one question, and this is my opinion, Eric, my opinion, and my circle, as in my Jerusalem circle, they get tired of me talking sometimes. Oh, here you go, here you go, here you go. But anyway, if we ask one question from every level that I just mentioned, just those levels, and Eric, that one question is this here: what can we do or mention that will get God's attention? Right? And see here, and here's my point. Here's my point. It's not a religious question, right? God is talking practicality. God's talking economics, right? What can we do or mention that will get God's attention? From millionaires all the way down to the floor, right? To the people that they talk about bootstraps that ain't got no bootstraps,
Yeah.
what can we do or mention that would get God's attention? That's one major question.
Okay.
And if we thought of that from an entrepreneur standpoint, like me and you, like I said, this is this pattern disruption, man. I don't know where you got that from. God gave you that because that's exactly what we need, a pattern disruption,
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
All right.
And speaking of
Okay.
stinking thinking, what is
Okay.
a practical way that you think? Because I look at you as a man, like I say, you got a daughter older than I am. So that means
Uh-huh.
you've been through a lot more than likely,
Hmm.
than me and a lot
Hmm.
of my peers.
Yes.
What they talk a lot about depression, mental health right now. What
Mm-hmm.
are some practical things that you use? Because you're not always, you go through it as well, just like anybody else.
Oh yeah.
What's some
Oh
practical
yeah.
ways that you use that can help raise your vibration?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. That's a good question. Well, I'm a reader, right? I'm a reader, and through I got people from Les Brown to to right now, Les Brown to you name it, that that I can go back to and immediately get back on track, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, it's you just have to surround yourself with good material, good people, right?
Hmm.
And you got to get in touch with God, man. You got to get in touch with God, lady. And the point I keep, like I say, with in my podcast, there's a lot of, I say I'm not just talking about God, right? This thing is just not something I'm just talking about or pie in the sky, whatever. I'm talking about again from a practicality standpoint. God is listening to you, lady. God is listening to you, but we have to kind of raise our consciousness to see it and hear it. And you talking about Eric, you talk about getting up off the floor and depression. I just lost a son, right? I lost two sons.
Yeah.
I had six kids, man, and two boys and four girls. I still got the four girls. The two boys is gone, but I just lost my son earlier this year, man. Two, guess what? To suicide, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about it, what hit me so bad, Eric, is me and this guy talk about everything. At least I thought we talked about everything. I thought I knew just about everything was going on. Again, almost since he was a baby, been sitting in my chair cutting hair, and that's always been our therapy session.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, talking about depression, what you just said, mental health, man. Oh Lord, and I did my podcast. I did my first podcast. I said, man, it took me 4 days to get off the floor, man. But long story short, it's just God,
Yeah.
God in
Yeah.
His practical sense. We got to get that in our spirit, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then everything else comes off of that. But we oftentimes just when we talk about God, we go to church, is you know, young people in particular. And I'm generalizing, but this is my thing with church. And I got a good church, Third New Hope. Got a new good pastor, Quantes Presley, young guy. Spirit is in him, old soul, and he brings that word right.
Yeah.
But in the most cases, and I'm just generalizing again, we still Sundays talking, preaching about Jesus instead of what Jesus preached. Power, power.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Most
Power,
definitely.
power where you are, young man. Power where you are, young lady. You know what I mean? So, but again, God, to answer your question, hopefully I answered it.
Yeah.
God, and then everything else on top of that. You know what I mean?
But
Self help books and
that's what I said.
all of that good stuff.
You said reading, being around positive people, and also,
Yeah,
but God first and foremost. But
yeah,
most definitely. So let me ask
yeah.
you this: going back to the beauty and barber industry, what? Because I skipped
Mm-hmm.
over that one by mistake. What
That's right.
has changed the most since you started?
Ooh, Lord, what has changed the most? What has changed the most, man? Technology. How about that? Technology. What you just hit on. Technology, social media, um, capitalism, free enterprise. You know what I mean? The things that you can do, young man. The things that you can do, young lady. And I call myself an old head, right? And I'm 68 years old. I'll be 69, right? Um, but man, again, God has talked to me latest thing. He said to me, he said, y'all been for the last 10 years. you've been in a media phenomenon. You know what I mean? A marketing phenomenon. What we can do now. You know what I mean? In the past, it's always been, well, the man won't let us do this, and the white man won't let us do that, and and we still got odds. Now, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but man, what God has put in our hand, Eric, the smartphone. You know what I mean? If you walking around, young man, young lady, ignorant now, it's it ain't on God no more. You know what I mean? It's on us, right? It's you not asking the right question, right? It's you not, you know what I mean? So to ask your question, technology. Put that. How about that? Technology and this, ooh boy, this entrepreneur thing from an entrepreneur perspective is like, man, look, you mean I can do this and I can do that? Yeah, you can do it. It's not gonna be easy,
Yeah.
but man, you know, what it was 20 years ago and what it is now, night and day, baby. Night and day. And God would be telling us, look, I don't know what you complaining about, but I had to, me and my boys, as in disciples, we had to walk to get to certain places 2 and 3 days. All you got to do, my child, is bam,
Yeah.
bam, you know what I mean? So information, but technology. Okay, how about that?
Um,
It's a long story
how are
short.
you leveraging technology in your business?
To give you 2 words, database,
Okay.
database. Who are you, young lady? How can I help you? Right? Eric, I got something to make you laugh, and I'll try to make it real short. Right? Who is who walked? I guess here's the question: Who walked the earth? Well, he didn't walk the earth 33 and a half years because he went through adolescence and baby. But I'm talking about Christ Jesus,
Yeah.
right? Well, who is the CEO of marketing, Chief Executive Officer of marketing, and Chief Executive Officer, Eric, is not even a strong enough word. He is marketing. He is that, right? But guess this. Guess what? Who is the CEO of marketing and why? Is Jesus Christ. Why? You know why? Because he walked the earth asking and being asked the most important marketing question that anybody can ever ask up until today's time, and that includes you. You know, how can
Can I
I help
help
you?
you?
How can I help? How can I help?
Yeah.
And the fun part about it is this is why we serve Christ. And again, I ain't just, this is a practicality movement, man. This ain't religion. I ain't. That's what I'm trying to get these young fellas to understand, man. This ain't just about just religion. You gotta, but it's practicality movement, right? And when he asks the question, "How can I help you?" and they constantly asking him, "Can you help me? Can you help me?" Here's the point, Eric. He already knew the answer. He just wanted to hear what you had to say. And then he wanted to get out of you another marketing question, relationship. Now you tell me in today's time, boy, just asking that question from an entrepreneur standpoint, let alone consumer and who we are and God's child on top of all that, man, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How can I help
That's it.
you? Okay.
How can I help you?
Most definitely.
How can I help you, man? How can I help you?
So, what does leadership look like in this industry? Because I think you serve in your church.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
you serving
Yep.
people
Yep.
in your shop. How
hmm
the leadership part of it? Do you mentor, or how does leadership look in your life right now at this stage?
Leadership looks every chance I get, I do. Um, Leadership to me, my pet peeve is young men. You know what I mean? Young men, man. You know what I mean? And particularly, I mean, young men, yes, just got it going on, just got a little something going on, college and got a direction, right? But more importantly, the ones that don't, man, that's the ones that hit me the most, right? Our young men out there with these pistols, these guns, Eric ain't caring about nothing, man. Will shoot you like you dust, man. That's my that's my pet peeve there. And I wrote a poem, Eric. It's on YouTube. It's called ABA Purpose, right? If and if we did these from this man's perspective, ABA Beautiful Association Network's perspective, if we did these 9, 10 things that I have in that poem, the world again would change yesterday. But I started off with saying again, the name of it is "What Can We Do at Mission to Get God's Attention?" I started off with, "If I was a young man, I put down my gun. If I was a father, I go find my son. If I was a parent, I go help the teacher. I start an economic program from the pulpit if I was a preacher. Now that's just 4 lines of it, 3 lines. I don't know how many, but it goes on and it's a quick poem. But to answer your question, man, young men, man. And the first 2 lines in that poem says, if I was a young man, I put down my gun. If I was a father, I go find my son. Them two things go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because now this is from my perspective now, and I'm a father, grandfather, great grandfather. These young boys out here with these guns, man, and I'm talking about violent ones. Now I'm talking about they don't care about nothing, right?
Yeah.
Or appear to not care about nothing. The thing that they saying the most, and this is from my perspective, when they come down with that hammer like that and that anger, MF, you ain't none of my father. MF, ain't nobody never cared about me. Ain't nobody love me. Bam, bam. It's anger, man.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm saying not all of it now, but 90% of it, if that boy was in touch with his daddy any kind of way, right, in a positive way, he wouldn't be the way he is necessarily.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all make choices, and you can have 5 kids, and all of them turn out different. I'm not saying like that, but I'm saying from that perspective. So that's the young men, man, and young girls too. Now, young women too, but young men, young women, come on, man. You know what I mean? And so part of that is relating right back to their parents, so to speak. And I'm not dumping on parents because when you know better, you do better. But my point is, and this is one of the things that bugs me the most, Eric, when we look at we don't need Ku Klux Klan no more. We don't need the Nazis no more. We are the Ku Klux Klan, man, you know? And so 19, 20, 21, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23. You know what I mean? These kids, they ain't necessarily coming home to their own apartments. They coming home to our houses, and we know our kids, and we know what our kids are doing, right? So again, it's just that kind of thing, man. What a father could do, you know, and he ain't got to be his biological father. What you just said, what a mentor would do,
Yeah.
could do, you know.
Yeah.
But we got to get them where they at, and sometimes in Sunday we preaching to the choir. You know what I mean? You ain't preaching to them young boys. They ain't hearing nothing you saying. They ain't even on the what's called looking at you online. I'm just saying. I'm generalizing again. So we got to find a way, man,
Right.
for these, parents, man. Y'all, you gotta be responsible, man. And I'm not jumping on you, but you know what I mean. When 18, 19-year-old killing this, killing that, killing, where your daddy at, man?
Yeah.
Where your mother at, man? And even from the penitentiary, you can do something. So that's not even an excuse, you know. So I hope I answered the question, but I'm passionate. I'll get to talking,
No,
but that's part of my passion, man. Young men, boy, young boys, you know,
so
and young girls too.
no, most definitely, most definitely. That's definitely
Hmm.
uh, a bridge. I do a show. Well, I only did one episode, but it's talking with the YMs. You know, they got this YN thing going on right now.
Okay.
But
Uh-huh.
the YMs are the young men, and
Yes.
connecting with them because they have grievances with us, and there's
Hmm.
a disconnection. So
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
so we can bridge that gap, I'm talking to my family, young people in my family now, but the goal is to kind of
Hmm.
get outward and just reach out to some young people and see what they got to say and just listen to them and don't
Yeah.
judge, you know. But let me ask you
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
A beautiful association, the network.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
inspired the creation of a beautiful association network, and what gap do you feel like it fills in the industry?
Um, well, the first question first, and I'll try to answer real quick, right? Back in 2003, uh, God came to me with a question. Well, came to me with an inspiration in the form of a question. I was already in the salon, right? So I was already in the salon, barbershop, and that kind of thing, right? So again, as an entrepreneur, so here's the thing. This is what inspired ABA. God came to me in the form of a question. He said, "Hey Wes," and this is from an entrepreneur question. Hey Wes, what would you be selling if 99.9% of the people that you met were probable purchasers of your product? What would you be selling, man? And I thought about it for a minute or whatever. I don't even remember if I thought about it, but The answer was hope. 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 Right? Because again, hope. And to this day, HOPE. And so that's what ABA came about, a beautiful association. What makes it a beautiful association? People like yourself. I can help you wherever you are, young man or young woman, if you want to be helped. Now, I can't do nothing if you don't want to be helped. But if you want to be helped, we can help you, right? Go to the ABA, sign up, man. Sign up and watch God do his thing because you just did yours, right? You just did the possible. God will do the impossible. So that's part of that. So that's what inspired ABA Network.
Hmm.
ABA Beautiful Association. What makes a beautiful association? People like yourself. Now, the second question. What was the second question, Eric?
Second question was,
What did you say?
and I think you said it. It was the question was,
Okay.
what need does it feel? And I guess it's hope, providing hope.
Yeah, it's hope, man.
Yeah,
It's hope, man. It's hope.
most
It's
definitely.
hope on all levels. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
hope, man. And Eric, and that's what's so exciting about our world, man. Me and you are as entrepreneurs, whatever, is because we have the money. You know what I mean? We got the resources. From the multimillionaires, millionaires,
Yeah.
from the churches,
Hmm.
to everything that we can do. We got we have the platforms and the resources. The point is asking the right questions and then being willing to do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? If you in a nonprofit box, we understand. Okay, you can't get out of that box. ABA network. You know what I mean? Pattern disruption. You know what I mean? We got some. Give us the money, man. We will make sure every dime goes to whatever. But I'm just saying we have the money, man. It's just we have to understand getting rid of that stinking thinking and asking some of the most important questions, Eric. And one of them is, what can I do or mention that will get guys' attention? Hey, and then the other one, I got a little brain thing for you, Eric, right quick. This is right quick, and it's
Yeah.
still on what we talking about, right? My brother and my sister. This is also what led me to my latest venture in terms of my my podcast, my poems that I would love for y'all to go on YouTube and make them viral, whatever that means. But here's my question. Here's my question. My brother and my sister, what if the world was ending tomorrow? What if the world was ending tomorrow? What would you be doing, right? Now, the point is, a lot of things would be irrelevant and all that. But contrary to popular belief, you would be doing one thing only. You would be begging and asking God for an extension, right? And whether you God's child or not, if you ain't God's child, you be trying to get to one of God's child. Say, hey, Wes, hey, Eric, I know you talk to God, man. We gotta extend this thing, man. Ask Him for an extension. So that's one of the things we were doing if we knew the world was ending tomorrow. Now, here's the follow up to that, Eric. And I ain't talking
Yeah.
about you, what I'm going to say, but here's the follow up to that. The world is ending tomorrow, knucklehead. It's just that God's tomorrows and our tomorrows are two different concepts. And so right now that's why we thank God for his grace and mercy, right? That's what he's trying to talk to us about, man. You know what I mean? One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Second Chronicles 7:14. I think I got it right. Right? And it says in a long story short, if my people will call by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, right? But here's the ABA thing, Eric. We changing the wicked, just
Yeah.
unproductive ways, right? So on and so on. Then what I hear from heaven and change and heal their land. That's God talking to us, man, saying, look, I'm rooting for y'all to get this thing together. Do you think I'm gonna let this happen forever? Kids out there crazy, fathers ain't taking care of their sons, a parent can't get a teacher, can't talk to, you know what I mean? Teacher can't even get a good parent, all of the above. Millionaires, billionaires, you got money you can't spend, man. You got money you can't even spend, man. And you know you out of order, you're out of order when hey when you get when you just get tired, then had everything. Well, maybe I'll try this. You know, what I mean? Come on, man, come on now. We got some place for y'all to do. So anyway, that's part of that thing, man. It's like, come on, y'all. The world is ending tomorrow, but God's tomorrow, not tomorrow, too different. So come on, man. He put us here. Do you think he's going to let this thing go forever when we getting further? and further away from our purpose that
Yeah.
he put us here for, Eric. So that's, you know, man, that's part of that, man. It's like, if you just change your thought pattern, man, understand, you know what I mean? It don't matter whether you're black, white, blue, whatever. If he call in the chips, you're gonna be a dead billionaire, buddy. You're gonna be, you know what I mean? You're gonna be a dead barber. You're gonna be a dead whatever. You're gonna be
Yeah.
in the gutter dead, man. You know what I mean? When you could have.
I got you.
So anyway,
Um,
yeah. Okay,
so
man. Okay.
have you ever had to unlearn something in order to grow? We talked about this a little bit before
Oh Lord.
came on. What did you have to unlearn in order to grow into the next
Learn.
version of yourself?
Well, I got a story for you, but I ain't gonna tell you the story. I just say this point blank. I had to learn how to stop cussing. Stop the
Uh,
profanity, man. You know what I mean? Uh, I and the story being and it's just a simple thing, man. But it's your language, man. What comes out of your mouth, man. You know what I mean? It's like I feel you, young brother, but we gotta learn how to we got to learn
yeah.
new words, right? And my quick story for that is again here we go with my in the hair industry, right? I told you about my boy that we both was in the plant, and he went to beauty school. I went to a barber school, and then when I got a barber school, I followed him into his where he was. But we used to talk a lot, and I'm a project boy, right? I mean, I'm still a project boy. I have to check myself now, but I get good stuff from the projects and try to lead the other behind. But anyway, every word came out my mouth was MF. And I used to talk to him. We'd be talking. He'd be doing his customers. Hey man, he said, Wes, I hear you, man, but you got to do something about that language.
Yeah.
so, so as little as it sounds, man, that thing goes with you. So you got to and needless to say, you can't walk in the boardroom. You got to learn what you got. Just
Say
so
you
language, I guess. I guess that
say
answer
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that
So
that
you
answer you.
unlearn some of the
Okay.
profanity that you. That's the stuff you had to unlearn.
That's stuff
Okay.
that stuff I had to unlearn, man. Just don't go where you trying to go, And because my boys tell me, Wes, eh, I hear what your mouth say. You know what I mean? I hear what your mouth say. You say you want to do this, but hey, man. Oh, that's another thing I had to learn. You say you want to be a hell of a hair designer, man, but every time I call you to go to this hair show, especially
Yeah.
back in the day, it's hair shows every Monday, he said, but every time I call you and tell you, hey, man, I'll be at the hair show. I, Most of the time you don't show up. So that's another thing I had to unlearn. I hear what your mouth say, man. You say you want to be this and be that, but I don't see you
Yeah.
studying. You know what I mean? You say you want to be a doctor, but I don't know, man. I don't see you in the
Yeah.
library or whatever, So how about
Okay.
that? You know what I mean? And that's for
So
everybody. I got that.
as far as your legacy is concerned, when it's all said and done, what do you
Hmm.
want your legacy to be in the industry? In the industry, and beyond, pretty much.
Oh man. Well, and beyond. Okay. Well, in the industry, I want to be known in the industry for a guy that was a forward thinker, right? And the stuff that I caught on from him allowed me to, number one, become wealthy or become financially independent, right? It also allowed me to understand my true wealth, my family, right? He introduced God in a way that I wasn't really getting it. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, that's one of my legacies. You know what I mean? To turn this business into business, man, and what you can do, and then that understand that in all you're getting, if you ain't taking care of your kids, man, if your son can't, if you don't know your kids, what have you
Right.
done? Your kids that you put there. So kind of like
Okay.
that, man. You know what I mean? From a business perspective, I make no bones about it. Becoming a millionaire, having resources, man. If you got resources, you can turn your hood into neighborhood. You can turn your neighborhood into community. Your schools look different. Your household look different. Don't get it
Yeah.
twisted, buddy. Guy's about money, but he said, for the love of money is evil, not money. and so that from that perspective, we have to pool, man. We have to the resources for sure, and financial and
Okay.
mental.
Okay. Let me
You
ask you
know,
this. So your platform, you have a podcast. I think we have it. What's the name of your podcast?
I got my podcast is the latest one. The third podcast is ABA Perfect Circle. That's what you gonna find me when you see that ABA with Perfect Circle ABA in it, because there's a lot of ABAs out there. But Power Reconnected the
Okay.
Revolution. Power Reconnected the Revolution. That's that's my that's the third podcast. I got a couple others on Spotify, um, and I want you to check those out too. I got one on Spotify that says How can I help you, and then the other says It's chess and not checkers. Those on Spotify are just audio, but the latest one I just did is audio and visual, so you get a chance to see my handsome face and hear the
Right.
voice and all that stuff. Yeah, but so that's where I'm
Okay.
at. That's where I am. But I got a couple of poems, man. I got a couple of poems that's real quick and fantastic. That's on YouTube that I want people to check out, and they'll get a kick out of them. Spitting knowledge like truth, and and through this social media thing, I want them to go viral, y'all. You know what I mean? I want to know that they say they send you a check. I don't know, man.
What's the
Just
name of that
talking, but
the
whatever.
poem that you just did? You said a little excerpt from it.
The name of the poem is "What Can I Do a Mention?" What can we do a mention? Excuse me, not I. What can we do a mention that will
Okay.
get God's attention? And
Okay.
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. But it's on YouTube as an ABA purpose under
ABA
ABA
purpose.
purpose. Yep, ABA
Okay.
purpose.
I,
That's
I
the
try
point.
to add those
And it's it's,
banners,
it's
man.
again.
ABA purpose.
I appreciate it. Yep, ABA purpose. It's a poem on YouTube that I'm kind of proud of. It was quick and just came to me like that, and so and I have hey Eric, and I had my see this again. We talking about a legacy and all that good stuff. I had my little smart grandson who was 13 at the time. I think he was 13 at the time. He edited the poem for me. You know what I mean? I had to get on him because he so smart. Man, come here, man. Oh, granddad, is it? Yeah, come here, man. So anyway,
ABA
yeah,
purpose.
ABA purpose.
Okay, and then
That's
you also have a
yeah, that
website.
kind of. I got a website. It's abanetwork.net. Abanetwork.net. Sign up, y'all. It's the easiest sign you could ever have, man. You know what I mean? It just basically says what we've been talking about. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and now we're in step two. You know what I mean? Because we can't. How can I help you? You can't help me if I don't know you. You can't help me because you don't know me. So that's what this sign up is about. Just asking you a couple questions, and we own relationship has started, and let's change this world, man. Change the world. I ain't got nothing else to live for. That's what I'm talking about, man. I tell people, I say I've been here longer than I got to go, and every time I get in doubt or frustrated, and God say, okay, Wes, do you have anything more important than what I'm telling you to do? No, Lord. Okay, well let's go then.
Let's
Come
go.
on. So yeah. So yep.
Um,
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
I guess yeah. In conclusion, I
ABAnetwork.net.
wanted to ask you if you could sit with your younger self.
Okay.
If you sit with your younger self today,
Uh huh.
what would you tell him before stepping
Ooh,
into
Lord.
this 30-year journey that you have started on? Take your time with
Um.
that.
I, okay. Well, off the bat, I would say save 10% of everything that you come into your environment, as in money in particular, right? Save 10%, young man. Save 10%, right? Learn, and it's financial first, whatever. It's not just all financial now. Don't y'all get me wrong. I ain't just talking about money, but I am saying save 10%. Learn the stock market, man. At least learn what it's about. You know what I mean? Learn the stock market, man. You know what I mean? Learn what God did in the Bible in the Old Testament. Land. Learn land, man. Learn real estate, man. You know what I mean? Learn some real estate, man. Even if you don't know what you're doing,
Right.
learn it, man. You know what I mean? Understand that here's the thing. Understand that I know how you feel like you're not gonna get 50 years old, right? 50 years old. Forget that, man. Act like you're gonna be 50 years old one day, man. And save you some money, boy. You know what I mean? Girl, you know what I mean? And understand that, man. Understand that. Understand that. From a woman, from a young girl standpoint, understand that God made you the best thing that's walking, girl. And whatever you tell us to do, we'll do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't tell us to do nothing, we don't do nothing. If we can get everything and do everything, and I ain't met your daddy yet. I ain't doing it. So that's another thing. I'm being humorous, man, but I'm, about real. So that's part of what I would say to my young self. Again, slow
Right.
down, man, a little bit, right? And one of the things that I always say, see, my thing, God was with me from the beginning because He made me walk. This is just a little something, a little humor. He made me walk across the bridge to meet a girl. So Danita was born, right? Because she saved my life, just like I saved her life. You know what I mean? They don't tell her what I be doing, or whatever. But and then I had a mama that said, "Oh, you got a kid coming, huh? Guess who's gonna take care of the kid if it's yours?" And I don't want to hear all that, right? So anyway, long story short, we grew up together. So she saved my life and I saved her life. God saved my life through saying, okay, you got a kid. You got to quit. You got to figure out what you're going to do, man. Or at least, what you think you're going to do. And that's the whole thing too, my young people. Don't be so hung up on, man, I don't know what I want to do. Okay, that's cool, but try something. Try something positive, man. Just try something. If it don't fit, move to the next thing. But know what you don't want to do. So in the projects, for me, it was like, man, this package I don't want to sell, man. You know what I mean? This is really not for me. And I had opportunities to do that all through, you know what I mean? You know how that go, Aaron. Here, man, take this. You make you some money, double it, double it. But nah, this ain't what I want to do, man. I want to do something else. I didn't know what I want to do, but it was something inside of me. Then I had a mama too. What you ain't gonna do in my house, right? So that's the whole nother thing. But yeah, man. So 10%, boy, 10%, girl. I don't care how much it
Yeah.
is, And find your church that work for you. You know what I mean? Because God is practical. That's another thing. God is practical,
What's the name of
man.
your church?
My name of my church is Third New Hope Baptist Church, and it's on Plymouth and Steel. And the preacher is Quantez Presley, young Pastor Quantez Presley, young guy. He and my pastor emeritus, who really I was under, got all my tutelage from, man, is E.L. Branch, right? And so he took over for E.L. Branch, and he could not be in a better spot, whatever, good people and all that good stuff. But hey, Eric, here's the joke, and it ain't really a joke, but he get tired of me. I'm talking about Pastor Presley telling him, "Hey man, come on, man. We should own everything
Yeah.
around here. You know what I mean? We should own these houses. We should own this block. We should because what Jesus Christ says to me, Eric, and I'm gonna leave you with this, whatever. But what Jesus Christ says to me, Eric, just like I'm a barber, right? The first thing that I look at is your hair. Now I can't help it, but I ain't gonna stare at it. But that's my training. I'm a barber, man. I'm looking at your hair. That's the first thing I look at. Jesus Christ was what, Eric? A
Yep.
carpenter. Come on, man. Jesus Christ was a carpenter. So if he came to my church, and maybe your church too, because we got some similar churches. I got a nice church, but you got to go through the hood to
Right.
get to it, right? If he came to my church, Eric, if he came to my church, he said, hey, he tell my preacher, he said, hey, wait a minute, hold on, man, hold on. I know what your sermon is and going to be, but for the next 2 years, your sermon is going to be tear it down and build it up because all of this stuff I see around these churches, these burnt up houses, they're still standing, da 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 da. Y'all should be able to get this from 2 cents a square.
Right.
And I'm just, I'm paraphrasing, right? In other words, when I bring somebody to my church, it should be like, dang man, this block, and I should be able to say, yeah, because the church owned this block, and the church owned the one behind us, and he owned the one, and we're getting ready to own that block. and anything the church owns turns into a community. How about that? Right.
Most definitely.
So
Yeah.
that's part of
Hey,
my
sh-
thing, man. It's like, come on, man. This thing
shout
about
out
economics,
to Pastor
man. Right.
Presley
And
for
I'm a,
putting up with that every Sunday.
yeah.
What?
He gonna be on me, man. I'm only not trying to get him to listen to my podcast because I mentioned him. Oh, okay, Wes, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it. Okay, man. I'm a trustee at the church too, so that's part of who I
Yeah.
am too. Is just that money, man. Come on,
Your,
y'all.
your,
Come
your
on
daughter.
now. Right. Dollar a day from a dollar a day from every member in my church. I don't know about yours or whoever's church, but a dollar a day, that's $7 a week. In 2 years we'd have $1 million. In 1 year we'd have a
Yeah.
half a million. Right. So and that's just my church. There's some churches that say, man, a dollar a day, shoot, we be and come on, man. So anyway,
Your daughter
that's
said, she said, Mr.
how about that?
West, Danita chimed in and made a comment.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, that's my firstborn, boy. I tell you, that's me to the 10th power. Around my circle,
Yeah.
my Jerusalem circle. Again, the prophet is never accepted in his hometown, right? So they hear me and they don't hear me. Oh, quit
No,
talking.
so
You know,
listen.
but but I don't take it personal. I just the
So
guy say, hey, keep it. Don't worry
so
about it. Don't worry
talking to
about it.
you, I
But
see a lot where Danita gets it from. Uh, yeah, yeah, and in a good
okay,
way.
all right.
Uh, yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
in a good way. Thank you, sir. Thank
She
you, sir.
has a lot of energy, and she does what she says she's gonna do, or most of the time she won't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she and I actually worked
Yeah.
at GM together, and she. This was
Okay.
after I left the plant, Chrysler plant. I took a couple years
Okay.
off in my
Okay.
entrepreneurial. I had a entrepreneurial seizure, and I broke out. Yeah,
Uh huh. Uh
and
huh.
and I ended up coming
Yeah.
back to work on a referral to GM, and I met Danita. And Danita was coming from being in the
Uh huh.
fashion. I think she was working with Versace and all them over at Somerset,
Mm-hmm.
and we both
Mm-hmm.
came in literally
Yeah.
in orientation. We met, and
Uh huh.
we were both
Okay.
like,
Okay.
I don't know if this gonna work. So we both sit the first day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we end
Yeah.
up linking,
Yeah.
talking,
Yeah.
and she ended up getting fired. And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. That's my
I
firstborn.
got a call from
Yeah.
her. She was like, you know, they just fired me, and I said, what? Yeah, they. You know how the energy. She was like, I ain't back.
Right.
And a
Right.
couple
Right.
weeks later, I
Right.
quit. Yeah, we were both
Yeah.
gone.
There you go.
So
Ain't
I
that
see where
something?
she gets it from, man. We
Yeah.
are, yeah,
Thank you,
you have
sir.
done a really
Thank you,
good
man.
job with her. I know you're proud of all your kids, but Danita is one
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
break
I am.
those curses, those yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just putting
Yeah.
wealth and the legacy at a level. You know what I'm saying? I'm so proud of her, man. I
Yeah.
saw
Yes,
her,
sir.
when
Thank you,
when
man.
she first bought her
I am
house.
too. Thank you.
We both were buying houses
Uh
at the
huh.
time, and
Uh huh.
she ended up using that
Uh
real
huh.
estate to start the business. So yeah, so you never know when
Yeah.
you plant that
Yeah.
seed. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you don't.
Oh
No,
yeah,
you don't, Eric. No,
oh
you
yeah.
don't. No,
Well,
you do not.
and
Right. Absolutely.
Veronica
Absolutely.
Estelle, she said, dropping jewels. Thank you. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
in
All
closing,
right.
is there anything that you want to say to the people, man? I feel like you have said a mouthful, man. But is there anything you want to touch on?
Yeah. Uh, hey, man. It's just again, we in a movement, y'all. It's an economic movement. Sign up. Just come to abanetwork.net and let that be your start. God has chosen us as a vehicle, not the vehicle, but a vehicle to join up with other vehicles and let's change the world. Have some fun doing it, man. Make God proud and force him to give us an extension.
Yeah.
How
Now,
about that?
you know,
How about that, y'all? So abanetwork.net, sign up. Sign up. That's what I need y'all to do. And check my poem out.
to piggyback on
ABA purpose.
what you
Make it go
said
viral.
was, if the world was ending tomorrow, what would
Yeah.
you
Yes, sir.
do? And you said basically people would be looking for an
Yeah.
extension. And you said the world
That's
is
what they be
ending
doing,
tomorrow.
man.
I like
Right?
that. It is ending
Yes, it is.
tomorrow.
Yes, it is. Eric. Yes, it is. Yep.
And if you keep that on at the forefront of your mind, you will operate a lot different. You will ask yourself the serious questions and
Mm-hmm.
not procrastinate. Yeah. So I
Yes,
like
sir.
that point of view.
Yes, sir. You get.
Most definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. You got it.
Yeah,
And I knew
most
you
definitely.
would anyway. But
Well,
yes,
I
thank you,
appreciate
sir.
you coming on the show,
Okay.
man.
All right.
It has been
Yeah. Not as much as I
listen,
appreciate you, boy. Not as, keep doing it,
man.
man. Keep doing it. Pattern of disruption. That's
Yeah,
what we
no,
need.
no,
Go ahead.
thank you,
I'm
man.
sorry. Go ahead.
I next week I have a podcaster coming on. This is his business, creating podcasts for people and
Okay.
doing the technical part of it. So I'm gonna make sure I send you a link for that so you can actually
Okay.
hear. Because for us, we just
Yes, sir.
start and get going, and we figure it out later.
Yes, sir.
But the
Yep.
people
Yep.
to
Yep.
start
You know it.
with the technical part of it as well, so they don't have all the hiccups and waste a bunch of time.
Yes.
So, and like I say, I'll
Yes.
tag you in that so you know about it. But I appreciate you being here today.
Okay.
You have a
Thank
great
you.
day. I don't know if you're going to the
Thank you,
shop
man.
today.
Thank you, boy. Yeah, I
Okay.
gotta go. I
Well,
gotta go. Yep.
be
Yep.
great,
Yep.
man. It's
I'm
hump
going.
day. I appreciate
Yep.
everybody that watched the show. I'm gonna put you backstage for a minute, but don't disconnect yet. I wanted to download. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, brother.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Peace.